So I have JJ here with me, and JJ is a senior advisor and world history teacher and English teacher, soccer coach, among many other things, a great advisor and a veteran teacher. JJ, can you share a little bit about what the transition has been like for you as we've moved to remote learning at the White Mountain School?
Well, I guess it boils down to the most important thing, and that is kids are still kids, and I'm still me, and teaching is still teaching. So keeping it really relational and making sure that there's lots of points of connection has been the through line for me.
That's wonderful. And one of the things that you shared with me in an earlier conversation, in thinking about your ninth grade world history class, you had asked them what are some of the rituals that we need to continue as we migrate over, as we move over to remote learning. And one of the rituals that they described was this touchstones conversation that you've been using in your class. Can you describe a little bit about that and share why that really is so rooted in our mission, which is one of a school of inquiry and engagement?
Yeah, so the Touchstones discussion program, it's a year-long program, and it grows organically. It's all about doing it every week or as close as possible to every week. It runs kind of parallel to the curriculum. It's a set of readings that the kids sit in a circle, and it kind of gets them learning to be advocates for their own learning. It gets them asking questions of a text. It gets them probing kind of the arguments of what others have to say, but they're not debating. They're kind of shaping. They're shaping inquiry. They're shaping, like, looking into a question or a set of questions rooted in a text, rooted in the kind of the community, a community of discourse. And that takes a lot of time, and the growth is really incremental. But I found when we shifted to remote learning, and I did some polling to find out kind of what was important to them, and I put it right out there. I thought, how can we maintain touchstones? How can we do it with shorter classes, with this remote setup? I said, frankly, I don't know if we can do it. I'm not sure. I have questions. What are your thoughts? And I didn't have a solution at that point. So it's kind of interesting, like the very idea of posing a question that's kind of open-ended and not quite knowing what the outcome would be is exactly what I ended up doing. I wasn't trying to, but anyway, it was the principles of the program were actually kind of kicking in, and they were pretty resolute in their notion of they wanted to find a way to keep it going. And to incorporate that into the ritual of how we kind of wrap up a week.
Let's hear a little bit of the class discussion now.
I think when he says honors, he's kind of like talking about like every kind of honor. So like awards, gifts, praise, like all of it. Because I don't know, you can give like every single thing, every single honor, I guess, to someone, and they can either like it or not like it. And this guy is saying that if it's coming from someone who's like younger, or not younger, but like less than you don't like it automatically or something.
Yeah, because like I feel like a great man would be aspiring to reach only for the highest of honors, like Kirsten said, whatever that might be, and so to have it given by someone who isn't like well deserving of it or shouldn't be in a position to give it out, it's not worth his time to receive it in a way.
So I decided to format it with our learning management system as kind of a first part, and then a Zoom call for the second part.
And I think, one of the things that we talked about when we were planning on moving to remote learning was, this idea that we don't want to do things that are radically different. We just need to figure out what are the things that we do so well, and how do we do them in a remote environment. And I thought this was just such a perfect example of that, because I think one of the things you were thinking about is how do you create the space for students to kind of read, process, analyze text, and from that text, pose a question that will engage others in conversation. And so how in your mind, like how has this worked, and what are some of the benefits that you've found by doing this first asynchronously?
Mm.
So here we see a student, posing the question, asking, citing a quote and then asking a question, and then kids responding to that. In what way has this actually, have you found benefit in this as a system?
Yeah. So the key one of the major targets, I guess you could say, for the program is to root a meaningful question, something that a student is genuinely curious about, that they want to discuss, that's rooted in the text. So that's something that's developed throughout the year. And so we're really at the point of where students are in a place where they can ask some really fantastic opening questions that would be good for discussion. So this situation, the timing of it worked pretty well, because I could say, all right, here's the reading, find a sentence that intrigues you, shape that curiosity, that inquiry into a question. And so that's something that we've actually done, we've practiced throughout the year, and that there's stumbles in the fall with that. And it's with the stumbles, there's some successes, but it's not particularly consistent. So with this, it was just kind of ready for them to practice some more. But there's something about the asynchronous work of it where they were on their own and there wasn't as much time pressure.
And one of the things that you've mentioned doing is that you've been collecting a lot of feedback from your students on the experience. And you said that that's been really important for you in terms of rolling it out successfully.
Yeah.
Here's some of the feedback that students responded to you in terms of how they're experiencing the new version, the remote learning version of the Touchstone discussions. What are your takeaways from them?
Yeah, it really makes me think a lot about how in the moment of a discussion, when time is kind of tight and there's maybe more of a kind of a performance feeling to it, that kids feel a certain degree of pressure, or I guess the shadow side to pressure is reluctance or just remaining quiet. So I think the fact, so the student says, time to reflect on my answer before putting out to the entire class. So in face-to-face discussions, you're going to have some people who are more reluctant, and so the sheer volume, I required it as a homework assignment that they put a question and an answer out there, but the fact that they felt comfortable about it. I could really you can see ownership with an assignment. And this was absolutely the case, at least with this last discussion. So I'm really heartened by the fact that they reacted this way. So I absolutely see how there could be, this other student says, to chew on the information longer, sleep on it. So my thoughts were mostly full. The idea of a student feeling confident enough, not feeling like they have to get it right, not feeling like it's the answer, because that's really not how it works. But the thought of, my thoughts were mostly full. So they came in feeling confident, feeling well positioned, right? There's a foundation of having thought about it, but also not that nervousness, not the edginess of like, is that okay? Is this good? They were able to kind of think it through a little bit and came in from a point with a point of confidence. And so I sensed that also in the discussion, that they felt a real nice ownership with the material, whereas other times they're a little more tentative, but that tentative reaction might also have something to do with the fact that they've just sat down with it. They've only been working with it for 40 minutes or so. So there's a lot of advantages to this approach.
And I'd say maybe lastly, just a general question, as we have and schools across the world have moved to remote learning, we of course want the kids back on campus. We all miss them terribly, and especially the seniors, to be here as they would and should be finishing their high school career. Even though that's out of our control, though. And the question is like, is learning still happening? Is it still meaningful? Is it still relevant learning? In reading comments that you've written about student learning and sort of witnessing sort of students talking about their engagement in classes, my experience is that kids are doing phenomenally here. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I see some kids. I see the majority of my students really getting at it, really kind of hungry for it. And I don't know. I haven't gone this far to ask. Do you miss it or something like that? But there's something about the our synchronous meetings help to underscore how much we enjoy and value our community. Again, that's my language, but that's sort of my vibe. That's the vibe that I'm picking up on. That students value our connection, talking to each other, being with each other, and also doing purposeful work. And that I feel that that's my charge all the more. I mean, that's kind of always been the charge of the teacher, right? We've got the students gathered. Let's do something purposeful towards learning, right? Practicing skills and learning content and knowing how we think and sharing how we think, right? All these different things. There's something about the scarcity of time and just the massive distance, the kind of incalculable distance, because we also don't quite know when we're going to see each other again. That the value in what we're doing, it's like we're all, it's unspoken, but we're all pretty dialed in. I know I feel that there is a greater expectation for me to put together an experience that's going to be productive and beneficial for them. And they're replying and returning in kind.
They're returning that in kind because of JJ and teachers like JJ at the White Mountain School. Our teachers are working tirelessly to create meaningful and relevant experiences that can help buoy the students during this uncertain time. We hope that you saw a little bit of that in this video, and we encourage you to learn more as we continue to share more examples of purposeful student-driven learning that's continuing to occur here at the White Mountain School during our emergency remote learning plans. Thank you.